So hi guys, welcome to the channel. My name's Scott. If you haven't been on the channel before, basically I upload videos to help you when you start a business in terms of tips and things to avoid, because I've been in business over 25 years and I've made a lot of mistakes, and hopefully some of those mistakes and recommendations will come out by the end of this video. By the end of this video, I can guarantee you will take at least 1 or 2 tips away that will save you a lot of money, okay? And what I mean by that is, hopefully it will persuade you to do something that you're thinking of doing that otherwise would have cost you a lot in time and effort, okay? So let's just jump straight in. The first thing I would say is, having done it myself, is don't run a physical business if you can help it, okay? Now, when you first come up with a business idea, and let's say you've been employed and you haven't done a business before, you're going to be very, very excited and you're going to want to jump in, guns blazing. Take your time, take many, many months research, look at the business. Do not run a shop, okay, or a restaurant or something that requires you to buy into a lease or put down a lot of money. There's no need to. With the internet nowadays, there is loads of ideas and loads of ways of starting a business with not a lot of money, okay? So my experience was, I started a shop, had it for a couple of years, the crash happened. Well, actually we had 4 shops. It was an outdoor shops. And one of the biggest things with running retail is, and this applies to restaurants and everything else, first of all you have to find a premises. If you're set on that and you're ignoring me, and you do, then here's some tips coming up in a second. But hear me out first of all. If you have to buy to rent a premises, which is likely you're going to have to go into commercial lease, they'll want for 2, probably 5 years. They'll want a large deposit. They'll try and get you in the first stage because you're all excited to sign a contract that is going to require a guarantor probably. So you've got all this pressure. So before you've even started your business, you've got this pressure of a property, okay? Then you have to get it stocked, you have to get it kitted out, okay? If it's just a shelf, that could cost you hundreds of thousands in some cases. You know, when I was looking at some properties, it needed a full kit out, you were looking at 70 to 120,000. Okay, so you've got all this pressure, you've probably bought money. That's not how you want to start a business, okay? You want an exit strategy from day one. You've got to think long term, and unfortunately, it's not something you want to talk about, but say to yourself, what happens if it goes wrong? Because at that early stage, again, you're all excited, you're optimistic, there's no way this will fail, I'm going to be the best. You've got to come out of that mindset, and you've got to say to yourself, I know there's people there watching this going, really? It's the best way, okay? If you do decide to get a lease, my tips are this, and you ignore that advice I just given, make sure you get a rent-free period. It exists. You can negotiate up to 1 year, 2 years rent-free periods. You wouldn't believe that, but you can. If there's a shop that's been standing there a long time, don't fall for the landlord's BS. You know, it's a property that's not making him any money. You want someone in there. So say, look, you know, I want to be in here as long as you want to be here, you know, paying the rent. So let's make it a success from the start. No deposit and a rent-free period of 1 year. Okay, start with that. And then if you have to come down, then do so. But aim for at least 6 months rent-free. That's pretty normal, okay? So that's my first tip. My second tip is, when you're dealing with people, suppliers, okay, you've got to think to yourself, if you start a business, and it may or not apply to you, that requires a supplier, once you start doing well, will they then go direct? Happened to us. We were dealing with some of the largest brands in Europe, and then in a couple of businesses I've had this, drop shipping and various other things, they start to go direct once they see that you're doing well, okay? So think about that. If you're in a business that's drop shipping, or you've done one of those type of business, which is a good business to get into, have multiple suppliers, okay? Because some will let you down. And my biggest tip is, don't trust anybody. And I know it sounds quite cynical, but in business, everybody is out for themselves. Nobody's your friend in business, okay? Salespeople come and sell you something to put in your business or recommend a product. They're not thinking of you, they're thinking of themselves. So do not trust anybody. And that's probably one of the key points to starting a business, okay? So from that perspective, make sure that you are on your guard all the time. Passive incomes. I run a company, my latest venture, which is doing very well, is called Fleet.Atom. Fleet.Atom.com. The descriptions in the website's in the description. And what that does is, it's an ideal business, and this is the type of business you should be looking at. It's a passive business. So we supply other people software to get into the GPS tracking market. Now, how does this apply to you? You know, why is he pitching his own business? Well, because it's an ideal business for you. Okay, if you haven't thought about it, if you, with very little startup costs, are able to get customers who are going to pay you a monthly recurring income once they're set up, you know, once you build that up, you can pretty much sit back. Okay, and that's what you should be looking at. Whether it's not Fleet.Atom or it's something else, you want to be looking at passive recurring incomes. And it's this simple. Use Google and just put in 100 passive income ideas. Another tip, ChatGPT. You can do the same with ChatGPT. I use ChatGPT for everything in my business, whether it's responding to an email. So, for example, if you get an email from a supplier or a customer or whatever, put that email and then say, this is what I want you to respond in terms of the outcome. I want an outcome that makes them feel good, or gets me the supply of that product, whatever it may be. And it will do the email for you in seconds in a way that will get you what you want. So if it's a contract, upload the contract for a lease. Say to ChatGPT, tell me if there's any funnies in it. You say it that simply, and within seconds it will tell you what's an issue, and it will give you advice on what to do, or to go back and ask for, or to delete. When you're dealing with a business online, or you've started a passive business, make sure if you're discussing with other people information, to get them to sign an NDA. Non-disclosure agreements are very, very important. Some people say they're not worth the money they're written on, but you don't know years down the line, okay, if it's going to be an issue. So always get an NDA. Websites, big thing, okay, for me is websites, is make sure your website's very, very good. Everyone has to have a website. We've always used people in India. Now, it's hit and miss with some people in India, but they can be, the costs have gone up over the years. Certainly nowadays they're a lot more expensive, but they tend to be experts at it. So consider going to India, the Philippines, or somewhere else to get your websites done. Don't rely on somebody in the UK or Ireland or Europe, because they overcharge, and usually they outsource. Which brings me on to my next business, outsourcing. You can outsource most things. If you want to create a business tomorrow, let's say you want to create a plumbing company. You can create that. All you need to do is create the website, okay? I'm just giving you an example hypothetically here. You can create the website, you get a phone number, register the business, all this sort of stuff. You don't have to be a plumber. As long as you've got contacts that you can outsource your plumbing customers, or those services to, and think about it, then you can start that business. You can pretty much start any business that way. It's not about your skill set, it's about what you can match up with and put together like a puzzle to create a business. So when you're thinking about a business, let's say you're thinking about a health and beauty business, and you need to lease a shop, okay, and you're doing nails or whatever, or a hairdressing shop, you're going to need the equipment and all this sort of stuff. But you know, that could cost you a lot of money, you know, thousands if not tens of thousands. So why do that when there's other opportunities out there, where instead of doing people's nails day in, day out, and you know, maybe you want to do that, some people do, but you could look at potentially supplying nail companies. You could be with nails, you could go into the distribution side. You could actually consider getting a booking software. So software as a service, leading back to Fleet.Atom, goes for most things. You can go to hairdressing companies with a product that you've gone to that company who's designed that software. It's called software as a service, and it applies to many different softwares, and said, look, I want to resell your software under my own brand. So let's call it Jenny's Nails .com, right? So you can go to this nail company and say, look, or beauty company and say, or software company and say, look, you've got a great software that that helps people manage their bookings, and it reminds people via text and does the accounts all in one. It's a bundle. I'd like to put my brand on it. It's called software as a service. White labeling is another word, and I want to resell that to other or to beauticians, nail companies, hairdressers, whatever. And that's a different way of looking at business. Instead of going into that business in that format, spin it around and look at it and go, well, actually, I can sell a reoccurring a product to somebody that's going to help them. I know about that business because I'm going to do it myself. And it's a software. So that in that case, what I'm now going to do is go to all these companies, these beauticians, sell this software that's brilliant. You talk the talk because you know about the lingo in terms of beauticians. And now you've got reoccurring income. So let's say you've got 100 hairdressers now using that software that you didn't create, that you don't know much about, that's in your name, and you're charging 40 quid a month, okay? So all of a sudden, you're getting 4,000 euros a month passive income. And your net profit, you're probably paying the software company, let's say it's 9 quid a month. You're making £3 a month all of a sudden, instead of having a shop with a load of products in it and you're hoping customers come in and you have to go there every day, day in, day out, and if you're ill, the shop's not working, all this sort of stuff. So that's my advice, is look at business from that mindset. And that took me many years, 20 plus years, to realise you don't need to do a business that is to be physical and you're customer facing, all right? And that's pretty much it. So from the perspective of this video, check out the description, fleetappen.com. If you've got any comments or questions, and I'm happy to come back to you with advice, just pop them in the comments, okay? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be posting other videos as I go along, and they'll be about different things that I've learned over the years. And yeah, look, good luck in whatever you decide to do, and wish you well. Thanks very much for watching.